Hi, I want to share a few thoughts about our epistle reading for Sunday, the 21st, Romans 6, verses 1 to 11. Many of you will know that one of my favourite films is The Matrix, and a principal character in that film, Morpheus, says this fairly early on to Neo. He says, "What is real?" And today, is it all the reality-type shows that have and continue to dominate our TV screens? Love Island, Ant and Dec, Michael McIntyre, The Voice, Britain's Got Talent, Strictly and the rest? Is it the endless opportunity to watch box sets on iPlayer, Netflix, Amazon Prime? Is it the return of the Premier League on our screens? Is it in the pursuance of that 15 minutes of fame, the idea of uploading a YouTube clip or a TikTok clip that will go viral and make us into an overnight sensation? Sadly, I think we spend too much of our lives running away from who and what we are and pretending to be someone different. I believe we're all looking for something to love, loving to love. I believe, like many others, that to follow Jesus is to learn more about what it means to be real as an individual and together as a community. Jesus presents us with a choice. The crucified and risen Christ knocks on the door of our hearts, even more so now as we come to terms with this pandemic. And I believe there's an enormous need for men and women and children to know the heart of God, a heart that forgives, that cares, that reaches out and wants to heal. And in that heart there's no suspicion, no threat, no vindictiveness, no resentment and no hatred. It's a heart that wants only to give love and receive love in response. It's a heart that suffers immensely because it sees all of human pain, and it sees the great resistance to trusting the heart of God. So in the cross, Jesus offers consolation. In the resurrection, Jesus offers hope. He is the one, the only one, who can quell our fears and fulfill our deepest hopes and help realize our full potential. The love demonstrated by the cross event and resurrection is good enough to be true, and I believe we know that deep, deep in our hearts. And in that death and resurrection, Jesus invites us to become real, to be drawn into his love, and to let it gently shape us until it takes over every part of our lives. But it will require a leaving behind of all that is unreal. It will require a death, a humbling, a leaving behind of all the old ways of thinking, doing and being. It will require an honest opening up, of loosening our hold and letting go, so that we can, perhaps for the first time, receive his love, his warm embrace, his grace. At this time, dominated as it is by racial unrest, COVID, furloughing, increased visits to food banks, businesses closing, livelihoods destroyed, dreams shattered, the death of loved ones in hospital and care homes, social distancing, shielding, homeschooling, test, track and trace, and the rest, we can see, I believe we can really see, that we all struggle to make sense of life and death. And I believe there's no shame in being honest before God. And before God I can cry, I can confess, I can just pour it out, even if it's a complaint. He knows what we are thinking, so why not let it all out? Honesty matters above everything else, because without the truth, there can be no way to life for any of us. It's not that God needs us, but we need God. And what is that truth? That love is what God is. Love is why Jesus came. Love is why he died. Love is why he rose from the dead, for you and for me. Jesus is the symbol of hope in a time of national and personal crisis. We are what life has made us, for good and not so good. And we are what we have chosen to be. So please choose wisely. we should choose love in all its fullness. You are precious, honoured, all of you, and loved. So may we all know deep in our bones that his love, Jesus' love, wins. Amen.